All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Clyde Sukeforth chapter of SABR. I am Bruce McClure, the chapter chair, and we always hold our meetings in conjunction with the Gardner-Waterman chapter of SABR in Vermont, Dr. Clayton Truder, chair. Now, before we get started, I've got a sword to fall on tonight. I got some emails today because when the Monday message went out this morning, there was no picture of Gus. So I am here on camera right now tonight apologizing to Gus for not giving him his star turn like he should get every week, and hope that he doesn't incite a coup to take over the chapter. Molly, say something so we can get Gus on camera, would you? She's having trouble unmuting.
No,
There
I'm
she
trying
goes.
to balance the thing so you guys can see Gus.
We'll give Gus a little extra screen time here because I blew it. Go ahead, Mal.
No, I was trying to balance one-handed so I could unmute it, and make sure it's on Gus. That's all.
All right, so I've hopefully have atoned for my sin. So let's get on to some serious business here. Hey, Jeff Cohen, unmute and tell me what's going on with that podcast, my dude. How you doing tonight?
Thank you, Bruce. Yes, this week on Baseball and BBQ, we have a great guest named Chris Jensen. He wrote a book called Baseball Two-Way Greats, pitching, batting stars from Ruth to Rogan to Ohtani. It's a great book. I did not know that Bullet Joe Rogan's name is not Joe. His name is Wilbur. So that's a little trivia in there for you. And please listen on Baseball and BBQ, all your podcast apps.
Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate that. Now, I have been traveling the state of New Hampshire today, picking up donations for our in-person events that begin late next month, May 28th, to be exact. I want to thank the good people at Walmart down in Hudson who gave me an incredibly huge box of crayons and pocket folders for the kids to take home, coloring sheets and whatnot. And we have had several donations come in from our chapter members. Gary Joquin sent a monetary donation, as did Bill Lyons, who also sent in a beautiful monetary donation. Thank you to both of you for doing that. And Glenn Biss has more crayons for me. So Glenn, if you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, I'll be emailing you very shortly to get up there to meet you in person finally and grab that donation as well. And I certainly do appreciate everything that folks have been doing for this. 5 in-person ball games for us to get together at this year. And I'm going to be sending out a list and dates and times tomorrow for that. So watch that in your email. All right. I got the preliminaries out of the way. Let's get on to our feature presentation this evening. In the 50 years that have passed since Hank Aaron hit number 715, his legend and legacy has only grown. Modest to a fault, he always insisted that he didn't want people to forget Babe Ruth, but only to remember Henry Aaron. Today, he remains the career leader in total bases, runs batted in, and all-star selections, shares records for home runs by brothers with Tommie and by teammates with Eddie Mathews, and is remembered with respect and admiration for his outspoken advocacy of civil rights for all minorities. Written by a lifelong Braves fan who became a sports writer, tonight's book traces Aaron's odyssey from the segregated South to the baseball world revolutionized by Jackie Robinson, who became an early and important ally against bigotry and prejudice. It reveals how the New York Giants nearly beat the Boston Braves in signing Aaron when the young slugger caught his first break, and why he changed his hitting style after the Braves moved from Milwaukee to Atlanta. Former Associated Press newsman Dan Schlossberg is one of the country's premier baseball experts and is the only U.S. journalist who covers travel and baseball exclusively. Dan boasts a 50-year career that spans the gamut from broadcast analyst and commentator to writer, author, and entrepreneur. He has won awards for writing, editing, graphic design, and public service from the Garden State Journalists Association, the North American Travel Journalists Association, and the International Association of Business Communication. Dan is also the author of 41 baseball books, including our topic this evening, Home Run King, the remarkable record of Hank Aaron, Dan Schlossberg. Welcome back to Northern New England, my friend. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great, Bruce. Thank you for that glowing introduction. Your check is in the mail.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm hoping it's a big one.
What you didn't say is this is my second Hank Aaron biography. I wrote one 50 years ago, 1974, just as he was breaking Babe Ruth's record on April 8th, 1974. But I want to tell all of our people that joined us, forget Willie, Mickey, and the Duke, because Hank Aaron topped them all, not only as a baseball superstar, but also as a civil rights champion. At the time he retired, Hank Aaron had more home runs, more runs batted in, more extra base hits, and more total bases than any player in baseball history. He tied Ruth with 2,174 runs scored. You could take away his 755 home runs, and Aaron still has more than 3,000 hits. Let's go to the next slide, Bruce. Okay, look at this. This is how Hank Aaron started. In the Negro Leagues, the Indianapolis Clowns, a barnstorming team that never played a home game. They were always on the road. And Hank Aaron was an infielder for the Indianapolis Clowns, but he was so good that Major League Scouts started to follow him. Next slide, please. And the Boston Braves outbid the New York Giants by $50. $50. And had the New York Giants up their bid a little bit, Hank Aaron and Willie Mays would have been teammates. Instead, Hank Aaron was signed by the Boston Braves, and he went to Jacksonville, 1953, and integrated the all-white South Atlantic League, also known as the Sally League. And you'll see that there are 3 black players in that photograph. Hank Aaron is one of them, and Bill Bruton is one, and Sam Jethro. No, I'm sorry, Felix Mantilla and Sam Jethro and Hank Aaron. Okay, next one, please. Okay, here you have Hank Aaron in the all-time rankings. First in RBI, first in extra base hits. You can see it for yourself. First in total bases, first in most all-star selections. 755 home runs, first in my book, because I don't count that Barry guy. Third in hits, tied for fourth in runs scored. Just incredible. And there's some great baseball artwork on your left because you see Willie, Mickey, and the Duke. But where's Hank? He's towering over them. Look at this artwork. Okay, next slide. There we go. Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, and Barry Bonds. The 3 best home run hitters, you can argue. But Barry, Barry had that 1 year of 73 home runs. That was the only time in his career he hit more than 50 home runs. So as Yogi Berra would say, something's not kosher in the state of Denmark. Okay, next, Bruce. Look at this. Hank Aaron ran 12 more miles around the bases than anyone else. 12 more miles around the bases. Think about that for a second. More than Ricky Henderson, the great base stealer, more than Lou Brock, more than Mays, more than Mantle, more than DiMaggio, you name it. Aaron ran more miles around the bases than anybody else. Okay, next. Now here we have Sadaharu Oh, who's the world home run champion. He was the Japanese baseball home run king. And after Aaron retired in 1976, he actually went to Japan and had a home run derby with Sadaharu Oh. Aaron won that 10-9, by the way. It preceded an actual game in Japan. Okay, next. And here's one of my favorite Hank Aaron baseball cards, along with a plaque that hangs in Milwaukee. Doesn't hang, actually, was posted in Milwaukee. And a proclamation from the governor of the state of Wisconsin for Hank Aaron Day. Okay, Bruce. Now here we have Aaron and Willie. They were actually friendly rivals, but so different in personality. Mays was flamboyant, outgoing. Aaron was quiet, introverted, humble. In fact, Don Drysdale once said it looked like he was falling asleep between pitches. Obviously, he was wide awake when he faced Drysdale because he had 17 home runs against him. That was the most he had against any one pitcher. Okay, Bruce. More baseball art. Braves Bombers. Aaron and Mathews. And there's a photograph of Aaron and Mathews too. They were incredible. Aaron and Mathews. What a 1-2 punch. Sometimes Mathews batted second and Aaron third. Sometimes there were 3 and 4. The lineup changed over the years, but they were terrific. And by the way, one thing you should know about those Milwaukee Braves, they were the only team in baseball history that never had a losing season. Never. The 13 years they existed, they always finished over 500. Okay, next. Bruce, there you go. Great card. 1959 Topps. Really love that card. Fence Busters. And remember the old Home Run Derby, the original Home Run Derby TV show ran in the late 50s and 60s? Aaron made more money on that show than he did in his first 2 years from salary. Just incredible. Okay, next. Is the Aaron brothers, Hank and Tommie. Well, Tommie only had 13 home runs. Hank had 755, but combined, they had more home runs than any brother combination, including the DiMaggios, the Boyers, the Alous, brothers that were more than 2, but the Aaron still had the record. And Tommie Aaron hit 3 of his home runs in 1962. In 3 games in 1962, the Aaron brothers homered in the same game. In one of them was against the St. Louis Cardinals in Milwaukee. Tommie led off as a pinch hitter, hit a pinch home run with nobody on base. The next 3 guys got on. Aaron hit a grand slam, and that was the game. Hank hit a grand slam, that was the game. The Braves beat the Cardinals. One of my favorite games of all time. 1962, you could look it up. Okay, Bruce. Now, why these 3 guys are together, you might ask. That's Warren Spahn on the left, Aaron in the middle, Hank Aaron, and Chipper Jones on the right. Now, what makes this slide interesting, they were the only 3 players in the history of the Braves franchise to hit home runs in at least 17 consecutive seasons. Now, remember, Warren Spahn was a pitcher, so he had at least 1 home run for 17 consecutive seasons. Quite an accomplishment. Eddie Mathews, by the way, never did that. Okay, keep going. Braves win title, Milwaukee Wild. And on the right is Aaron hugging his mother after 715, I'm sorry. Just another home run, right? Not really. There's Don Drysdale. Great pitcher, but Aaron ate him up. Aaron hit 362 against Sandy Koufax, 342 against Steve Carlton, and 17 home runs against Don Drysdale. So he did pretty well against some very good pitchers. Okay, next, Bruce. Marquee matchups. There we go. 362, 342. 7 home runs against Koufax, 6 against Carlton. Not bad. And look at that OPS against Koufax, 1.077. Okay, next. Took me 17 years to get 3,000 hits in baseball. I did it in 1 afternoon on the golf course. Aaron said that once. He was a good athlete in other sports, such as golf, skiing, fishing, boating, tennis. He did it all. Racquetball, you name it. Okay, Bruce. Now, unfortunately, when he was approaching Babe Ruth's record in 1973, and it looked like he was going to get there, he got a ton of hate mail, just a ton. He also got a lot of mail that was supportive, but this hate mail was really awful. And Dusty Baker said that he would read the mail in his locker, and he would never talk about it, but he'd throw the letters on the floor so the other black players could pick them up and take a look at what Aaron was getting. Just incredible. You will die in one of those games. I'll shoot you in one of them. Amazing. Okay. 1957, Aaron wins the only MVP award. Amazing. He only won 1 in all those years that he played. And there he is with Mickey Mantle. And the Braves, of course, were 1957 world champions. The only time they got a World Series ring, 1957. Next. Here you have Aaron and Seaver. Tell you a story about Seaver. In his first year as a rookie, Seaver struck out Aaron 7 times. Now, that's a lot for any one pitcher to strike out Hank Aaron. But Hank Aaron learned. Every other year of Seaver's career that he faced Hank Aaron, he never struck him out more than once per year. That just tells you how well Hank Aaron learned how to handle Tom Seaver. And I love the cover of that championship series program. 1 step for the Braves, 1 giant leap for the Southeast. Or whatever Buzz Aldrin said. Or was it Neil Armstrong? One of those guys. Or maybe it was Pete Crow Armstrong. Okay, here you have Aaron in all 3 uniforms that he wore. Milwaukee Braves, Atlanta Braves, and Milwaukee Brewers. Okay, there you see a headless Babe Ruth on the left. And Hank Aaron's statue to be unveiled at Cooperstown, and it was. It's a beautiful statue. You can't miss it. If you go into the Baseball Hall of Fame and you want to walk up the steps to where the video presentation is, you can't miss seeing that Hank Aaron statue. Really well done. Okay. These are other Hank Aaron statues, not the one I just talked about. The one on the far left is from Truist Park. Really well done. And the one in the middle is also from Truist, I believe. And the one on the right, I think, is from Miller Park in Milwaukee, or what, American, whatever it is, American Field Park, American Family Park, I think, in Milwaukee. Okay, next. At the Baseball Hall of Fame, and I witnessed this, Aaron, the last time he was there, which was 2019, got the loudest and longest standing ovation of anyone I've ever seen. And I've gone to many inductions. The fans just loved him. And they wouldn't stop. They held up the program for quite a while. And he's just sort of smiling, but he's keeping it in. Okay, Bruce. There's Jeff Idelson on the right, the president of the Baseball Hall of Fame at that time. And there's Aaron with Gaylord Perry, Craig Biggio, and Jeff Idelson. And there Aaron is smiling. And there he is with Bill Clinton and with George W. Bush. And go on. No respect. He got no respect. There are all the baseball cards. But Aaron, when I say he got no respect, 9 voters never voted for him for Cooperstown. Now, consider the fact Cooperstown ballots have 10 spaces on the ballot. That means 9 voters totally ignored the home run champion of all time, and I voted for Hall of Fame. Can't tell you why, but 9 voters never voted for Hank Aaron. And the MVP award, he should have won maybe 3 or 4 other MVPs in addition to 1957. But he didn't for one reason or another. Koufax won 1 year. Maury Wills won 1 year. No, keep going. Okay, baseball cards. I love baseball cards. I have many of them. Hank Aaron, right field, the Sporting News. That was when the Sporting News was this tabloid that came out every week. I loved it. And this Hank Aaron stat is truly amazing. He made the All-Star game 21 straight years. That is a major league record. No one has ever done that. Now look at the one on the right. It says first base. He only played first base for 1 year. But they put out an All-Star card for him at first base. Okay, Bruce. That's good. President Nixon's daily diary. Now note that he talked long distance, right on the bottom there, talked long distance with Hank Aaron, player for the Atlanta Braves baseball team, and congratulated Mr. Aaron on hitting his 715th home run. Now, the reason I put Nixon's picture in there is when he hit his 700th home run, Nixon sent him a telegram. It was addressed to Frank, not Hank, Aaron, and it was sent to the Braves Booster Club instead of the Braves Baseball Club. But Nixon had other things to worry about, I guess. Okay, next. There you have Bowie Kuhn, and what a travesty that was when he got involved in 1974 with Hank Aaron chasing Babe Ruth's record. The Braves opened that season in Cincinnati. They had a 3-game series with the Reds. And Aaron was one home run short of tying Babe Ruth's record. But the Braves wanted him to break the record at home. In fact, they printed certificates. There was one that said, I was there when Hank Aaron tied Babe Ruth. And there was another one that said, I was there when Hank Aaron broke Babe Ruth's record. Well, the Braves wanted to bench him for all 3 games. Eddie Mathews was the manager, and he said that he wasn't going to play Aaron. That's when Bowie Kuhn got involved, and he said, either you play Aaron or you're going to be suspended and fined, and the team is going to be fined. Well, after a lot of arguing and hemming and hawing, the Braves agreed to play Aaron in 2 out of the 3 games. In the very first game, in the very first inning, he hit a 3-run home run tying Babe Ruth. That was against Jack Billingham. So he was at 7-14. So that invalidated all the certificates that said I was there when he tied Babe Ruth. So the Braves really didn't want to play him again. So the Saturday game, he didn't play. On Sunday, he did play, and the Braves are kind of rooting against him quietly. They did not want him to hit a home run. They were going home on Monday to play the Dodgers. They wanted him to hit the home run on Monday. And as luck would have it, the best he could do was a long fly ball to the outfield. He did not hit a home run. So that brought us to April 8th, 1974. Al Downing pitching for the Dodgers. Hank Aaron wearing the same number, batting for the Braves. Next, Bruce. Now, Tommy Holmes was the manager of the minor league Milwaukee Brewers. And why is he here? He saw the young Hank Aaron and said he couldn't pull the ball and he would never become a home run hitter. Talk about invalid predictions. Okay, next. Now, Jean Dixon wasn't too smart either. She predicted Hank Aaron would never break Babe Ruth's record. So much for that idea. Next slide. Here's Hank Aaron's stats by logo. With the Braves, when they wore that Indian logo, then they changed their logo, then they changed it again, and then with the Milwaukee Brewers. That shows you all his stats. He had 22 home runs with the Brewers, by the way. He had 335 with the Braves, and then he went to the Brewers. Oh, I'm sorry, it can't be 335. That's wrong. That's wrong. Should be 735. 730. That's a typo. 735. So 335 during that time frame. That was in Atlanta, 1966 to 74. That is correct. 755 for a total. And there's how he stands with the all-time greats. Home runs, I think he ranks first. Okay, next slide. Okay, the picture on the left I took a month before Aaron broke the record. I was in spring training in West Palm Beach Municipal Stadium, and I knew Aaron and Mathews personally, and I said, will you guys mind posing for a picture? They came out of the dugout where they were talking, and they posed for this picture at the batting cage. That picture is in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I donated it to the Hall of Fame, and I got a certificate or a card, lifetime donor's pass for the Baseball Hall of Fame. That was kind of cool. And there's a little poster advertising the original Home Run Derby. Aaron beat Mathews, March 5th, 1960. And Mark Scott was the host. That was a great show. I like that a lot better than the Home Run Derby they have at the All-Star Game, which is just a money grab. Okay, Bruce. And here we have Ted Turner with Hank Aaron. Now, Ted Turner rescued Hank Aaron for Atlanta. When Hank Aaron left after the 1974 season, he had hoped the Braves would give him an executive position. They wouldn't. And so Aaron asked to be traded back to Milwaukee, where he broke into baseball. He loved the city of Milwaukee. And Bud Selig, who then owned the Brewers, was a personal friend of Aaron's. So he asked the Braves to trade him to the Brewers, which they did. And he was there for 2 years as a DH. When Ted Turner bought the Braves in 1976, he brought Aaron back and made him the farm director, and he became a big-time executive with the Braves. So that's why Aaron came back to Atlanta. Okay, next. There he is with Mickey Mantle. All 3 pictures, actually, with Mickey Mantle, with whom he was often compared, by the way. Bruce says, I saw Aaron hit his only Fenway home run off Bill Lee. And there's Muhammad Ali. Now, why is Muhammad Ali there? because Muhammad Ali once said to Hank Aaron, he's the only person I respect more than myself. Typical Muhammad Ali story. Okay, Hank Aaron, Baseball Hall of Famer with Martin Luther King. Okay, next, Bruce. Now this slide is interesting because if you look here, you know Jimmy Carter on the far right. Obviously, you know Hank Aaron. The guy in the middle between Carter and Aaron is the governor of Delaware at that time, Governor Tibbetts. But the most important person in the picture is the guy behind Aaron's right shoulder. That's me at age 25. I'm in the Braves locker room. There was a game rained out in September of 1973. Nobody remembers there was a game rained out. That could very well be why he did not tie or break the record. But we had this rain delay. The game was canceled and never made up. That's me at age 25. Okay, next, Bruce. Okay, there we had Gerald Ford with Hank Aaron. And Barack Obama was a baseball fan too. And on the far right, Jesse Jackson with Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron was definitely a very political figure. In fact, speaking of presidents, 4 Democratic presidents claim that Hank Aaron's campaigning for them put them in the White House. 4 different ones. Carter, Biden, Obama, and Bill Clinton all said that Aaron's campaigning for them put them in the White House. Hank Aaron Award winner. Bud Selig created the Hank Aaron Award because he felt Aaron was not getting him enough recognition. Remember Rodney Dangerfield with no respect? Well, he created the Hank Aaron Award, which goes to the best hitter in each league every year. And if you look at the recent winners, Acuna and Ohtani were MVPs that year. Aaron Judge in 22. I mean, you know, great guys who won that award. Okay, next. Hank Aaron Childhood Home Museum. Aaron was from Mobile, Alabama. His father built the house that they lived in 1942. He built it by hand. It eventually was moved into Hank Aaron Stadium in Mobile. But then the Mobile Bay Sox, I believe was the name of the team, moved to another city. When they moved the house into a sort of like a park-like area. And that's where it is today. So you can see all the artifacts and mementos of Hank Aaron's childhood home in Mobile, Alabama. And that was a great, great baseball birthplace for a lot of people. The third Aaron statue appears to be on display at Turner Field. I think that is correct. Pretty sure you're right about that. Okay, there's Aaron on the scoreboard at Truist Park. There's Truist Park again. Note the 44 in center field. You can see it there. And there is Aaron throwing out the first ball at Truist Park, first pitch. And by the way, the 2021 All-Star game was supposed to be in Atlanta. And Aaron died in January of 2021. The Braves were planning an elaborate memorial tribute to him. And unfortunately, Rob Manfred thought it'd be a great idea to move the game, take it from Atlanta and move it to Denver because he was unhappy with the voting rights legislation that had just been signed by Governor Brian Kemp in Georgia. And you might recall that earlier this year, when they put the All-Star game back in Atlanta, Rob Manfred said, I made a mistake. I was wrong to do that. Yes, you were, Rob. Okay, Bruce. Okay, remembering Hank Aaron. And there he is, different pictures of Hank Aaron. That's a book that came out. It's really good. And he contributed a lot to Metro Atlanta, the state of Georgia, and the country. Hank Aaron had a car dealership. He had restaurants. He had Colonel Sanders, Popeyes, legendary home runs, savvy businessman. He made millions after he left baseball, ironically. And what would he be making today if he were still playing? He'd own the team. Okay, Bruce. There's his Hall of Fame plaque. But he said in baseball, in playing ball and in life, a person occasionally gets the opportunity to do something great. When that time comes, only 2 things matter: being prepared to seize the moment and having the courage to take your best swing. And his Hall of Fame plaque, I don't know how they got everything in, but they did. 755 home runs in 23 years. Major's all-time homer king. They never changed that one. They don't really change Hall of Fame plaques very often, although they recently did for Jackie Robinson because it didn't say enough about his civil rights exploits. This is the cover of one of the Braves yearbooks. Beautiful artwork. And Aaron said, I was for what was right. I think that everybody, no matter whether they're black, white, or green, has the right to speak out on behalf of what they see as wrong. Said that in 1995. And by the way, somebody just put up something about the 3-homer game. He only had 1 3-homer game in his career and never had a 4-homer game. I think anytime he got close with 2 homers early or even in the 3-homer game, he probably just got walked because nobody wanted to give up 4 home runs in a game. Next, Bruce. Okay, member of the Hall of Fame, all-time leader in RBIs, second in home runs. Yeah, I say first. 25-time All-Star selection, 2 batting titles and 1 MVP. And by the way, he also won 4 RBI crowns. Willie Mays never won an RBI crown. Never won an RBI crown. I know he's one of the all-time leaders in RBIs, but he never led the league. Hank Aaron also won 4 home run crowns. Okay, next. And there's the cover of the book, Home Run King. Dusty Baker wrote a phenomenal foreword. I know Dusty personally. I knew him from when he was a rookie, way back when in the 70s. A great friend. When I asked him to write the foreword for the book, he was all too happy to do it. Dusty Baker was a great guy. Still is. Still is. And I'm sure he's a future Hall of Famer too. He'll be right alongside his old friend, Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron is quite a guy. And this is a cartoon that ran in the Atlanta Constitution. And it shows Clemens, A-Rod, Bonds, and McGuire, and says, how come when we take steroids, he gets bigger? Good point. Mike Lukovich is a cartoonist. And I love these cartoons too. These are baseball cards put out by Topps. Great cards. And there's your cover of the book. Forward by Dusty Baker. And that's it. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
I have, excuse me, I have so many questions. I'm going to do my best to step aside so that the crowd can ask their questions. But the one question that has been burning with me for years was when they had the celebration for Bonds breaking Aaron's record. Aaron taped a statement, there was a video where he expressed a lot of platitudes and congratulations. Is it true that that video was not exactly it was rather disingenuous because he was annoyed?
Yes, that is true. But I think you can see that from, his body language and everything that he said about Bonds later. Because, as I said, the only time Bonds hit as many as 50 home runs in a season was the year he hit 73. And that doesn't add up. That just doesn't add up.
Why'd he do it?
It was the same thing with Pudge Rodriguez. Remember when he hit 35?
Mm-hmm.
He never came close to that any other year. And how about, there's so many examples of that. The guy in Baltimore, in Houston, Louis Gonzalez, remember that?
Yep.
Brady Anderson is another one. All of a sudden, these guys had this one phenomenal outburst. Barry Bonds did it too. And that's why all the writers wouldn't put him in the Hall of Fame. He'll never get in the Hall of Fame.
Why do you think he made that video?
He's a class act. Somebody asked him to do it. He didn't volunteer.
Yeah, I knew that. I found it to be a jarring statement from Aaron when it came out. Aaron was my father's favorite player.
Good choice.
My dad was born in 1908, so my dad saw a lot of baseball. And my dad made sure that I was sitting on the living room floor right in front of the television when Aaron hit 7:15. He took me to Fenway to see Aaron play. And I had a good view of number 745 in 1975. September 15th, 1975, he hit number 745, and Billy has a running gag where he says, "I'm still mad about that because had he retired like he said he was going to at the end of 75, I'd be the guy that gave up the last one." All right, I got to step aside because I could do this all night. I got a bunch of questions here for you. If you have a question for our presenter, Dan Schlossberg, tonight, you do it what is already been done by 4 of our members here tonight. Go down to the bottom of the screen and hit the react button. Once you see that, you'll see another button marked raise hand. Raise your hand, and we will get you in line to speak to our presenter, Dan Schlossberg, tonight. First up, Molly McClure. Molly, you're up. Go.
First of all, Dan, thank you so much for this wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
I was wondering, you were mentioning there was a photo of the 2 guys that got into the Hall of Fame, and you said they were your friends. Now, did you know them outside of the baseball world as friends, or just inside as a professional friendship? Did you know them?
I knew Eddie Mathews outside of the baseball world because I also do baseball themed cruises, and I had him on several of my cruises.
Okay.
But I knew Aaron strictly for baseball.
Very neat. Very neat. Thank you again for this.
Thank you. And take care of that cat.
That's right. That's right. Gus learned a lot this evening.
Don't worry. I mean, he knows when mommy gets home from school every night.
How long did the research take you to create this book?
It took quite a while. Well, first of all, I'm a Braves fan, and in particular, a Hank Aaron fan.
No kidding.
I have, in my personal library, I have every Hank Aaron book that's ever been published. Plus, I kept in very close touch with him and with the Braves forever. I mean, ever since I became a professional writer, which dates back to 1969. So a lot of these stories and things and the photographs that are in the book, they're originals. There were photographs in the book from when I was in college in Syracuse. And I went up to Jarry Park in Montreal and took pictures of Aaron. Spring training pictures dating back to 1971, all kinds of stuff. So there are pictures in this book that have never been published anywhere else.
Next up is Mike O'Hare. Mike, how you doing tonight?
Hi, Mike.
He's got to unmute. He's doing that now.
Unmute.
Nope, can't hear you yet, Mike. Down the bottom
There
of
you
the...
go. There you go.
There it is. Go.
Hey, thank you. Dan, outstanding presentation. I've read your book, one of the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
One little story about myself with Hank. So when I was 15 years old, bagging groceries at the local supermarket in Ohio, I saved up a month's worth of salary or hourly rate, I should say, and went out and bought his 1954 Topps rookie card. My mom was going to pay me for how much I spent on it, but I think it was like $125, which was about a month's worth of work. And then when I turned 52, Hank was doing a signing up in Milwaukee, and my son and I actually flew up from Dallas just to have him sign that card, and we had our picture taken with him. Just an incredible, humble gentleman, just outstanding. My question is, do you ever think they'll make a movie about Hank?
Ooh.
I tend to think that they should, but they won't, mainly because his personality was just too quiet of a guy. He was almost introverted, very humble. They should, because it's a great story, what he overcame. I mean, he started, when he left Mobile for the first time, he had $2 in his pocket and a ham sandwich, and that was about it. He was wearing his sister's hand-me-downs. The most money he ever made in baseball was $240,000 a year. I mean, that's nothing today. Look at the minimum salary now; it's almost $800,000. So he was very humble because he overcame so much.
Yeah.
Next up is Jeff Cohen. Jeff, how are you, man?
Thank you, Bruce, and thank you, Dan, for this great presentation. I have a couple of questions. I hope I don't take too much time. The home run derby between Aaron and O. and Sarah O.
Mathews.
And it was in Japan, right?
Yes.
Was the dimensions in the Japanese league comparable to those in the States?
They were similar. By the way, Aaron won that home run derby 10-9. I neglected to give the score. It was 10-9, so it was very close.
Yeah.
But then again, this was after he officially retired from baseball.
Right. Another one, you said he only won one MVP award. I know
Yes.
there was a time that they only gave out to a player who already won the award. They only get it once. When was this during that time or was it after that time?
It was after that time. It was 1957.
Oh, okay. A very quick story. When I was 12 years old when he broke the record, I was we were traveling. My family and I were traveling back from Florida. I was in the back seat, of course, and we stopped at a Chinese restaurant for dinner. And next thing we know, we hear all this yelling in the kitchen. I was lucky enough to go back into the kitchen and watch the watch the replay. So didn't see it live, saw it on replay. And one last thing, did you read the book by Terrence Moore?
Yes. He's a good friend.
Oh, is he? That was an excellent book too.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Matter of fact, if I'm correct, Molly, correct me if I'm wrong. One of the poems that you had published in the Here Come the Pizza book, was that based on Hank Aaron?
Yes, one of them was.
It was the 715 called. Yeah, so that's Molly was published twice in that book recently. We're waiting for our hard copies. Eric Poulin, if you're watching this after the fact, come on, buddy.
Bruce, we should mention the 7-15 call because there were three of them. There was one by Vince Scully for the Dodgers. There's one by Kurt Gaddy for NBC. But the one that is commonly paired with the video was the one that Milo Hamilton gave on WSB radio. He was the Braves lead announcer on radio. And his call is the one you usually hear. And that's the one you hear at the Hall of Fame.
I did the poem based on the Vince Scully call.
Okay.
Yep.
Kurt Gaddy's was by far the worst one.
Agreed. You know, one of the things that you showed a couple of the letters that he got as he was getting close to the record from some baseball fans, we'll put it that way. When you go into the second floor of the hall, and I haven't been there in a couple of years, but the Hank Aaron section of floor number 2 is absolutely it's stirring, because the first thing you see is a very, very big picture of Hank, and interestingly enough, he's in a Brewers uniform. I always thought that was an interesting picture that they took for the entry. But you can see those actual letters. They discuss the racism that he encountered leading up to 715. And if I recall some of the stories, the level of security at Fulton County Stadium that night was incredible. Like guys on a roof, if I remember right.
Yes, snipers.
Yeah. But you
remember those two kids that ran out?
Yes.
When
yes.
He was on second base. Those two kids ran out, and Aaron's personal bodyguard said he didn't know if he should shoot them or not. He had a gun. He could have shot them, but he didn't. And it turns out they just wanted to wish him well, congratulate him. And both of those guys became doctors, by the way.
One of them has passed away, if I recall correctly.
Yes, that's correct. One died.
And if I also recall the story correctly, Aaron kept in touch with them off and on throughout the years.
Yes, they became friends.
Yep.
Oddly enough.
Interesting stuff. Craig Garrettson, you are up, my guy. You put up something in the chat. I was trying to find it earlier. What was that you put in the chat?
That Dusty Baker had a funny story about he had a hitting streak as a rookie, Dusty Baker, and he was going to face Bob Gibson for the first time. And Hank Aaron told him, if you get lucky enough to hit a home run, don't run too fast and don't run too slow. And if he throws at you, don't charge the mound because he's a gold gloves boxer, and just gave him all this very intimidating advice. And but Dusty said he went 0 for 4 and ended the streak because with all that not keep up. But there's a story about Hank Aaron when he's in the South Atlantic League. where the fans were obviously not used to seeing black players and not happy about seeing black players. And the first time he came up, we're at a visiting park, we're all hooting and hollering, hit him, hit him. And he hit a home run. And the second time he came up, the crowd was kind of quietly murmuring, walk him, walk him. So,
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think Hank Aaron doesn't get a lot of credit for is that he really helped end the segregation in Florida during spring training. He was one of the guys who spoke out and kind of put an end to this policy that Major League Baseball had, where you'd put the black players in a boarding house and the white players in a hotel. And Hank Aaron was one of the guys who really spoke out about that. So I don't know if you have any stories about him in spring training in Florida.
Definitely do. And getting back to what you said about Jacksonville, the fans there were so ignorant in 1953 that after one game where Aaron and Felix Mantilla did very well, a fan came up thinking that he was complimenting them and said, I just want to tell you, you niggers had a great game today. Well, he had no idea what he was saying.
Amazing. How far, and we've come a long way.
Have we? Have we?
We might be backsliding a little bit, but I can only imagine what Henry Aaron would say now.
They just took some Jackie Robinson thing out of where? The federal government just had Jackie Robinson something, I think was, I don't know if it was
something on a website, but I think they put it back.
They put it back.
Yeah. But why did they delete it in the first place? That's the point.
Yeah. Who knows?
I don't. Yeah. That's
military stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a road I don't want to go down tonight. That's just galls me, to say the least. You've been around Aaron. And what's your favorite Aaron story?
That's a really good question. I think my favorite Aaron story is what he told me about his brother Tommie. That he said Tommie did not get a fair shake because of his last name. He said if Tommie had come up and he was just a player, not his brother, the Braves would have given him a fair shake. He would have had a good major league career on his own. But because everybody thought he was going to be as good as his brother, he never got a fair shake. Never got a good chance. And there was no free agency in those days. So Tommie was stuck. But the Braves did make him a minor league manager, and he was very, very good at it. And unfortunately, he died of leukemia at age 45.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
He would have been, he almost certainly would have become the first black major league manager. He got as high as AAA.
Interesting. I always thought the story of Tommie Aaron was a bit of a tragedy, because here was a guy, he could hit, and for some reason he got to the major leagues and just didn't get, like Aaron, like Hank said, he didn't get that fair shake. And
and Bruce, another thing about Aaron that he told me, he said Eddie Mathews and Bob Buell and Johnny Logan used to love to go drinking after games or whatever, and they invited him to come, and he couldn't. He said it would just stir up too much trouble.
Yeah. Consider that Henry Aaron did this at a time where people did everything they possibly could to stack the deck against him.
Yes. If he were a white player instead of a black player, I bet he would have hit well over 800 home runs.
Oh, that's an interesting thought. Why do you say that?
Because I think everybody ganged up on him. They didn't want a black player breaking Babe Ruth's record, just like the fans didn't. Most of the ball players didn't want to do that. His teammates wanted him to do it, but not the other teams, especially the pitchers.
Now, did he forge a relationship with Sadaharu?
Yes, they were friends. Getting back to the preceding comment, Hank Greenberg in 1938 said that if he hadn't been Jewish, he would have hit more than 58 home runs. The pitchers weren't pitching to him in the end, and the ones that were, they were throwing him inside pitches, walking him a lot because he was Jewish. It was the same deal with Hank Aaron because he's black. It was just prejudice in a different form.
Interesting. I've heard that story about Greenberg before.
Another Hammer and Hank.
So say again?
Another Hammer and Hank.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, another Hammer and Hank. That's right. There you go. All right, tell them how to get the book, Dan.
Amazon.com is a great way to get the book. Or come to Cooperstown. I'm going to be signing books in front of Willis Money Books on the day before inductions from 11 to 1. And also my newest book, The New Baseball Bible, 500 pages, 25 chapters, color pictures throughout. And Chip Carey wrote the foreword.
And Dan will be presenting that book to the Elysian Fields chapter coming up in a few weeks. I forget the date exactly. Sorry, Donna. But
I think it's June 6th, I believe.
At least Dan knows what's going on. At least there's one professional in this room tonight.
It's the longest day. How could you forget June 6th?
There you go. So sign up for that so that you can see him present that book too. All right, we're back next Monday, April 21st, 7 Eastern, with Lynn Ames discussing her book, Out at the Plate, the Dot Wilkinson story. The chapter would like to thank Jeff Cohen for helping us get her scheduled, so we appreciate you, Jeff, for doing that. The links to sign up are in the SABR events calendar at saber.org/events and in the meeting booklet distributed each Monday with the Monday Message newsletter. And finally, if you are a baseball fan watching on YouTube and you like what you see, please like this video and subscribe to our channel to be alerted to each of our weekly uploads. And if you are not yet a member, you need to join the Society for American Baseball Research, the premier baseball community. Offering an amazing baseball buffet of options to explore your fandom, SABR boasts more than 35 different research committees, over 80 regional chapters, and innumerable opportunities to connect with baseball minds across the world, just like Dan Schlossberg. For more information, go to saber.org today. Dan Schlossberg, you are fantastic. Thank you very much for doing this for us.
Thank you, Bruce. I enjoyed it. It was great.
We appreciate you very much. We're going to get everybody out of here. We're going to see them next week at 7 o'clock. Thanks for coming, everybody. Have a good night.